2021 question 3. It's the classic ROM versus RAM. Well, give a few differences. Now, before we have a quick look at the marking scheme, what actually, like, practically, what impact does this have on your life? ROM is this thing. Like, just so you know, right? Don't say the thing, the black thing. Don't write that down. The black thing with the scrolly text when I boot up my computer. But that's actually what it is. That's the closest you're ever going to get to ROM. That's your BIOS, your basic input and output system. All it is, it's super basic. You can sometimes use your mouse. The older one, you can only use your keyboard. That was it. And it's basically the lobby, the hall, as you open the door to go into your house to get your computer. You haven't even gotten in to the actual house yet. Okay? You haven't even accessed your hard drive yet. All right? In fact, I could plug out my hard drive, eat it, throw it out the window, boot up my PC, and I'll still get this Dell ROM because you're actually booting up there on a little chip. A little chip on the motherboard, which looks like this. And there it is. And that's your ROM. Okay, that's an example of some ROM. There's different types, but that's probably the most common one. So practically, what does RAM do for you? Again, don't write this in an exam, but here's the truth of it. It's how many Chrome tabs you can have open. If you're one of those people who have like 64 tabs open, you better have a lot of RAM because Chrome likes to eat RAM for breakfast more than other things. Practically as well, you can render more video before it lags out and goes super slow if you've got lots of RAM. But generally, if you don't run out of RAM, it doesn't really affect you. You know, it's kind of a threshold thing. If you're only using 9 gigabytes of RAM and you have 16, doesn't matter if you've got 16, 64, 32, or 10. Generally, you have the powers of 2 generally. But yeah, unless you run out of it, you don't really notice, you know. So it's not like if you're building a PC, don't worry, just have enough RAM, but don't put adding more. Okay, so that's practically what it is. Exam wise, let's talk about some of the things on the marking scheme and what they're referring to then. Okay, so RAM can be written, whereas ROM is read only. I think the best analogy of this is like if RAM is how many numbers you can picture in your head, or like how many members of some band, or a bunch of information, and you don't really write it down, so it's just randomly in your head. You try and keep it as long as possible. Generally, for human beings, it's 7 bits of information. It's your working memory is probably the closest thing to RAM. Okay, you haven't written it down anywhere. It's just in your head. When you go to bed, you wake up tomorrow, you probably will forget it. Right? ROM is like a giant billboard. It's up there on the side of the M50. You can't really go up and, I mean, you can, but you'd have to, it's not really meant to be edited, you know? It is what it is. You read it. It's big. You know, it's not great quality, but it's there. So RAM can be written to, as in like you can learn new numbers, you can switch the things in your head. Whereas ROM, it's in the side of the M50, that billboard. It's not supposed to be written on, although it depends where on the M50. RAM chips can read faster than ROM. Okay, again, the analogy holds. It's easier to come up, think of something in your head than to look up at a billboard. And ROM is non-volatile. What does that mean? Does not require a constant source of power to retain it. So you pull the plug, RAM is gone. It's gone. It's gone out of your head. Okay, it's very similar to like you're thinking of numbers in your head. Go to bed, wake up, it's gone. All right. Whereas ROM is non-volatile. Okay, which means if you cut the power, it doesn't care. All right, it's still there. What was on it? So if you go to bed, wake up the next day, the billboard is still on the side of the M50. It still says the same thing. Okay. Right. Data information on the ROM is permanent, whereas RAM is used for temporary stuff. Yeah. Again, billboard analogy. If there's a sign for like Brennan's bread on the side of the M50, that's it. That's what it is, you know? Whereas you generally probably, hopefully, you think of more things than bread and bread on a daily basis in your head. RAM is just what you're randomly thinking about. Okay. CPU cannot access data that's stored directly, must be transferred to RAM first. Okay, so if you want to take down some data off that billboard, you've got to go up and actually you've got to look at it and take it on board to do something with it. I mean, maybe that's not perfect to fit of an analogy, but anyway, that's just another thing to learn off. RAM is used primarily in the startup process. That's what I said, the BIOS, basic input output system. Right, that's another answer for a future question. Whereas RAM, random access memory, is used in the normal operations. Again, how many Chrome tabs you can have open. Capacity. RAM has multiple gigabytes. Don't write gigabytes. Multiple gigabytes of RAM. So this computer has got, I don't know, 16 or something gigs, maybe more, of RAM. 1 to 2. Who has 256 gigabytes? Oh, it's like a PC will eat your car. I mean, maybe if you're like just video editing all day, or doing some crazy research. ROM typically, yeah, it's like, how many megabytes do you need for that BIOS system? It's a blue screen or a black screen with some text. Okay, it's probably not going to blow you away, right? It's not going to be 8K video at 120 frames per second. So yeah, typically 4 to 8 megabits, which kind of makes sense. You know, it's small, it's cheap, it's not, and RAM is getting more and more expensive. Physically, RAM chips are bigger. Yeah, they're about this size. Whereas ROM chips are, yeah, well, they're small and they go on your motherboard. And the last one, the cost of RAM chips tends to be higher than ROM. Tends to be. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Hang on a second. Wait a second here. How many? I mean, like, if they're equivalent sizes, yeah, sure, right? But like, how many 4 megabytes fit inside 256 gigabytes? Because for equivalent storage, that's how many you would need to compare the price. So I did the maths. It's 64,000 is how many you would have to buy for one. So one stick, or like even a set of sticks, that is about 256 gigabytes, and that comes to like $1,500. Okay, there's $1,500 upgrade kit there, 1,700, and then it's like you need 64,000 of these things. So what's 55? Let me put this in the maths Google. 55 times 64,000, and that's like in euro. Can I do euros? What's euro? Euro 55? Anyway. Okay, cool. 2.97 million euro. Is that you? So I don't know if 2.97 million euro is really the same as 1,700 euro. Okay, so I think I've proved the Leaving Cert wrong. Now, okay, I may have chosen a random one. Maybe there are cheaper chips, and maybe this is not 4 megabytes, but still, I don't know. I don't know if that's like exactly correct. So, but I mean, I guess in spirit, I'm just moaning. I'm just trolling.